Okay, thank you for reminding. I have started the recording. So, today we are learning how to compute weighted average cost of capital. Okay, and in the first step is to assign weights. Okay, to each source of finance in the total capital. So, with respect to assigning weights, we have learned two types of weights. One is marginal weights, and second one was historical weights. So, in historical weights, again, there are two types. One are book value weights. Okay, so those which are found in the books of accounts, and the other are market value weights. So, which are the actual market prices of equity shares in the stock exchange or stock market. So, in the previous class, okay, we have already learned, okay, how to compute weighted average cost of capital using book value weights, which are one type of historical weights. So today I'm going to discuss how to compute weighted average cost of capital using another type of historical weights, that are market value weights. Okay. Okay. So the next example, which is an extension of the previous example itself. Okay, previous example number was 11.12. Okay, so 11.13. Okay, example 11.13 is extension of example 11.12. But in this example, we are going to compute weighted average cost of capital using market value weights. So let us go ahead to the example. From the information given in example 11.12, okay, calculate weighted average cost of capital assuming market values of different sources of funds as below. Okay, so from the information given in example 11.12, calculate weighted average cost of capital assuming the market values of different sources of funds as below. Okay, so please try to understand the difference basically between book value weights and market value weights. I'll go to example 11.12 now. So in example 11.12, what they say is the following is the capital structure. Okay. So this is the existing capital structure of the firm. Okay, where total capital is 10 lakh. If I total this, okay, if I total this, total capital will be 10 lakh rupees. 3 plus 2, 5, 5 plus 5, 10 lakhs. Okay, the total capital is 10 lakhs. So what is the capital structure, or what is the proportion of each source of finance in the total capital? So debt capital, out of 10 lakh, 3 lakh rupees debt capital. Out of 10 lakh, 2 lakh rupees preference capital. Out of okay, 10 lakh, 5 lakh rupees the equity capital. So as I said, these are securities which are traded in the stock exchange. Okay, debentures can be traded, bought and sold in stock exchange. Preference shares can be bought and sold in stock exchange, as well as equity shares can be bought and sold in stock exchange. So when these securities are traded in the stock exchange, okay, definitely a price is determined, which we call it as a market value of the securities. So these values are book values. Okay, debt 3 lakh rupee is a book value. Preference capital 2 lakh rupee is a book value, which is mentioned in the books of accounts. Equity capital is 5 lakh, which is the book value. Now, since these securities are traded in the stock exchange, okay, the market price is determined by demand and supply as well as various other factors. So what data is given in example 11.313 is the market value of these securities. Okay, so are the market price of debentures. Okay, so market price of debentures. Okay, so usually each debenture separately, or each preference share separately, or each equity share separately is considered, but here we don't have the information on individual security. So the market value is represented, okay, as an aggregate. Okay, so whatever is the price of the debenture in the market multiplied by the number of debentures or the face value of the debentures. Okay, so you will get the market value. So some market price of the preference shares multiplied by face value of the preference shares multiplied by total number of preference shares, you get the market value, aggregate it is. Okay, so if you want to sell your debentures in the market, okay, the 3 lakh rupee debentures, okay, can be sold at, okay, 2,70,000 rupees. Okay, it is less than the book value. Then preference shares. Okay, so if you want to sell your preference shares, the 2 lakh rupee preference shares, okay, can be sold at 2,30,000 rupees. So value has appreciated here. And if you want to sell your, okay, equity shares, okay, worth 5 lakh rupees, okay, so you will get, okay, the market value of the equity shares is 6 lakh rupees. Okay, so this is how it is. So I hope the data is simple and easy to understand, and I hope you understood the difference between book value weights and market value weights. So let us consider the market value weights. Debentures or debt capital 2,70,000, preference shares 2,30,000, equity shares 6 lakh rupees, and there is an additional information on retained earnings 1,50,000. Okay, so though retained earnings are not traded, okay, just, okay, in the example, so this data is provided. Okay, so you need not worry about the question that retained earnings are not traded in the stock exchange. Yes, of course they are not traded, but just additional data is given in the problem, that's it. So we are going to consider it only from that point of view. So the total of the market value of the securities is 12,50,000 rupees. Okay, now so we have been asked to calculate weighted average cost of capital assuming the market values of different sources. So now retained earnings are treated as equity capital for the purpose of calculation of cost of specific source of funds. Hence, okay, the cost of retained earnings is equal to cost of equity capital. So this concept we have already learned in cost of retained earnings. Then, so KO or cost of capital is as calculated below. So debt, the market value is 2,70,000 and the cost of debt, okay, so we have to refer example 11.12 because it is an extension of example 11.12. So cost of debt was 8%, cost of preference shares was 14%, and cost of equity funds was 17%. So I hope you will remember. So cost of debt was 8%. If I convert it into decimals, it will become 0.08. Cost of preference shares is 0.14, means 14%. Cost of equity capital 17%, and cost of retained earnings will be considered as equivalent to cost of equity capital, hence 17%. So if I multiply columns 2 and 3, the 2,70,000 into 0.08 is 21,600 is the total cost. Preference shares 2,30,000 into 0.14 is equal to 32,200 total cost of preference shares. Equity capital 6 lakh into 0.17 is equal to 1,02,000 total cost of equity capital. Retained earnings 1,50,000 into 0.17 is equal to 25,500 is the total cost of retained earnings. So if I add all this, the total cost, okay, of all the specific sources of funds is 1,81,300. So by using the alternate formula, KO is equal to total cost of capital divided by total capital into 100. So total cost of capital is 1,81,300 with respect to market value weights, and the total capital is 12,50,000 with respect to market value weights multiplied by 100. So the answer is 14.5%. So cost of capital, okay, weighted average cost of capital using market value weights is 14.5%. Okay, then, so what we need to learn? KO or cost of capital or weighted average cost of capital with market value weights are higher. So as we can see here, so the weighted average cost of capital using book value weights was 13.17%. Okay, but whereas the weighted average cost of capital using market value weights are 14.5%. So KO or weighted average cost of capital with market value weights are higher. This is because shares have this is because equity shares have greater market values than their book values. So this is because equity shares have greater market values than their book values. The book value of equity shares was 5 lakh rupees, whereas the market value of equity shares is 6 lakh rupees. If weighted average cost of capital is based on book value weights, okay, is used, such projects would be accepted. Okay, so if weighted average cost of capital is based on book value weights, such projects would be accepted. That would be acceptable based on market value approach. Okay, because the weighted average cost of capital using book value weights will be lower than weighted average cost of capital computed using market value weights. Then the results given by market value based weights are better as a decision criterion. The results, okay, the results given by market value based weights are better as a decision criterion as they enable for a company to understand what are the actual cash inflows. Okay, so with this, so I'm going to give a small break here. So if you have any doubts regarding the market value computing weighted average cost of capital using market value weights, okay, you can please ask. And I repeat again, every time I repeat, those students, okay, who do not have questions or doubts, remember to mute your audio within 1 or 2 seconds. I repeat, those students who do not have any doubts or questions, kindly remember to mute your audio within 1 or 2 seconds.
Sir,
Yes.
Sir, one doubt, sir.
Okay. So Sharan first, and remaining students can mute your audio, please. Remaining all students mute your audio. I'll take questions from other students as well. Yes.
Sir, can you go a bit up?
Okay. Same problem.
Yeah, same problems. Sir, where we got equity capital as 6 lakhs.
Okay.
Like, how did we get that 6 lakhs, sir? I'm getting confused.
No confusion. This data
Yes.
is fresh, newly given in the problem. It is the data given
Okay,
in
sir.
the problem. That's it.
Okay, sir. And for this, like retained earnings, we need to take the same amount of percentage what we take for equity capital.
Correct.
For every time, we should take that only, no, sir? Like,
unless otherwise it is separately provided.
okay, sir.
In my next
Yes.
example, where we calculate weighted average cost of capital based on marginal weights, okay,
Okay, sir.
so in the textbook they have given separate cost of equity capital and separate cost of retained earnings. So if it is given, you have to consider separately.
Okay, sir. Okay.
If not given, cost of retained earnings is always equal to cost of equity capital. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Doubt clarified?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Okay. Please mute your audio. And now the second student.
Yes.
Who else has a doubt? There are one more student simultaneously who wanted to ask the question along with Sharan. So who was it? Please ask your doubt now. And the student who has marked this line, please delete this line on the table. Okay, please delete this line. Okay, so any other question? I think
Sir,
someone.
I guess Gitanjali has a doubt.
Gitanjali, please ask.
So,
Yes. I have to unmute. But already I have unmuted everybody.
Yes, sir.
Gitanjali. Yes, Gitanjali.
Sir, to get the market value, we need to multiply book value into face value.
No. See, you don't worry about that part. Market value figures will be readily given in the problem. Okay?
Okay, sir.
And
but you said something about
yes.
book value and...
So we just explain
What?
it. Okay, a little bit extra information we give for knowledge of the students. Okay. Say for example, okay, since there is no data on what is the face value of debenture, right? It is not given in the problem.
Yes.
And
Yes,
what
sir.
is the market price of debenture? Okay, individually is also not given, correct?
Yes, sir.
So that's why I explained. Okay, say for example, if the face value of debenture is 100 rupees.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and then there are 1000 debentures.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so then if the market value or market price of the debenture per debenture is 120 rupees. Okay.
Yes, sir.
So 120 into 100 into 1000. Okay, that is what will be the aggregate market value of debentures.
Okay, sir.
Okay, or let us say, for example, a market debenture is there, which market price is 120 rupees. And if there are 10 debentures, for example, 10 debentures, 120 into 10. So 1200 will be the market value of debentures.
Yes.
Okay, so 1 minute, I think a little bit I confused. Okay, it is a market value of individual debenture, market value of individual debenture multiplied by number of debentures. Sorry.
Yes, sir.
Face value
Sir,
we are
can
not
you
going to
share
consider.
Can you show in this, sir, PPT?
PPT, no, PPT is not made for it because it is not there for numericals. Numerically, you are not going to calculate it. See, pay attention. It is simple multiplication. I will repeat again. Say so face value you remove. Okay, face value remove. I told it wrongly. Okay,
Yes,
see, there is a lot of noise from your home. Okay, thank you. Gitanjali, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
See now, freshly you just understand. Say if the market price of each debenture is 120 rupees. Okay. Example,
Yes,
hypothetical example. If the market price of each debenture is 120 rupees, and let us say for our ease of calculation, okay, there are 100 debentures of a company. There are 100 debentures of a company. So market price of each debenture is 120 rupees multiplied by number of debentures. So how many debentures I said in the example?
120 into 100.
120 into 100 will be the aggregate market value of debentures.
Okay, sir.
Which will be 1,20,000.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So it is simple. If you want to find out it is called aggregate market value. Means market value of all debentures put together. Market value of all preference shares put together. Market value of all equity shares put together. Okay.
Yes, sir.
To arrive at this aggregate market value, we need to multiply the number of securities, number of debentures or number of preference shares or number of equity shares by market price of each security separately. Huh?
Yes. Yes, sir.
That is quite simple. That's it. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you,
So
sir.
yeah, welcome. So I'm going to mute you all again. So and let us go ahead with the next problem. Okay. So we are moving on to the next problem, which is again a further extension of example 11.12. Okay. So some additional data will be given in the 11.14. So we are going to learn how to compute a weighted average cost of capital using marginal weights. Okay, the firm in example 11.12. So as I said, it is an extension of the example 11.12. The firm in example 11.12 wishes to raise 5 lakh rupee for expansion of its plant. It's not plan, plant. So the firm in example 11.12 wishes to raise 5 lakh rupees for expansion of its plant. Okay, it estimates that 1 lakh rupee will be available as retained earnings, and the balance of additional funds will be raised as below. So the company or the firm in the example 11.12 is planning to expand its production capacity. The firm in example 11.12 is planning to expand means increase its production capacity, for which it will be raising 5 lakh rupees. So out of 5 lakh rupee, 1 lakh rupee will be available from retained earnings. And out of the remaining 4 lakhs, the company is going to raise a long-term debt of 3 lakh rupees, and it is going to arrange 1 lakh rupee capital from issue of preference shares. Okay, so debt capital 3 lakh rupees, preference capital 1 lakh rupees, and retained earnings 1 lakh rupees. Okay, so in this new proportion, in this proportion, the company is planning to raise additional capital required for expansion of its plant. It is going to raise. Okay, and so now what we need is the proportion of each source of fund in the total capital. Okay, so if we consider 5 lakh rupee as the total capital required, total additional capital required, so we are going to consider only this. So 3 lakh out of 5 lakh rupee is 60%. So it can be rewritten in decimals as 0.6. Next, 1 lakh rupee out of 5 lakh. Okay, it is 20% of 5 lakh. So it can be rewritten as 0.2. Then 1 lakh rupee retained earnings out of 5 lakh rupee constitutes 20% of total additional capital. So which can be rewritten into decimals as 0.2. Okay. So these are the proportion of each fund into the total additional capital. So these are also called as proportions or weights. Okay, please remember these are the weights. Now next, cost of each source of fund. So debt capital from example 11.12, it is already given 8%, rewritten in decimals 0.08. Then preference capital 14%, rewritten into decimals as 0.14. Cost of retained earnings will be equivalent to cost of equity capital, and cost of equity capital is given as 17% in example 11.12. Okay. So cost of retained earnings is 0.17. So total cost of capital. Okay. So this is marginal weights. So total cost of debt capital is 3 lakh multiplied by 0.08 is equal to 24,000. Preference capital, cost of preference capital 1 lakh multiplied by 0.14 is equal to 14,000. Cost of retained earnings 1 lakh. Okay, so multiplied by 0.17 is equal to 17,000. So total cost of raising 5 lakh additional capital. Okay, so total cost of raising this 5 lakh additional capital is 55,000 rupees. Okay, so here at this stage I would like to explain you. So what does this mean when I say to raise the additional capital of 5 lakh rupees, the company would incur a cost of 55,000 rupees. It means this 55,000 rupees is nothing but interest paid on debt plus dividend paid on preference shares plus, okay, the opportunity cost of retained earnings, which is 17%. So total 55,000 is the cost of capital. Now since we want it in percentages, so we use the formula total cost 55,000 divided by total capital 5 lakh rupees multiplied by 100. So what we get is 11%. So the weighted average cost of capital using marginal weights are 11%. Okay, so I will take your questions after this. Let us conclude. This cost 11% is substantially lower because debt finance has been used in a large amount. So if you recall right from unit 2, okay, beginning of unit 2 I have been explaining that debt capital is cheaper than equity capital, and use of debt capital decreases the cost of capital. So here what we can see is, okay, 60% of the additional capital, okay, 60% of the 5 lakh rupees raised through debt capital. Hence debt capital is, okay, a cheaper source of finance. Therefore, the cost of capital under marginal weights is lowest, as, okay, it is not because of use of marginal weights, it is because of use of higher, okay, proportion of debt in the additional capital. Okay, I also mentioned if the debt capital increases beyond a limit, okay, there is the optimal point, okay, up to where it reduces, the use of debt capital reduces the cost of capital up to a point, but beyond a limit or beyond a point, okay, if excess debt capital used, it increases the financial risk of the firm. Financial risk means inability of the firm to repay the principal and interest of debt. So we'll get back to the conclusion. The cost 11% is substantially lower because debt finance has been used in large amount, that is 60%. Since a limited amount of debt financing can be raised for a given equity base, okay, so to prevent the firms from entering into financial risk, okay, so there are laws so which prohibit or limit the amount of debt financing for a given equity base. So whatever is the base of equity, based on that debt can be raised only up to certain extent, but not beyond that limit. So since a limited amount of debt financing can be raised for a given equity base, the firm will have to use expensive equity financing for future projects. Okay, so that is what we learned in marginal weights. One of the disadvantages, it doesn't take a long-term view. Okay, the firm will have to use expensive equity financing for future projects. So since already this year the company has used 60% of the debt capital, so next year it cannot increase the proportion of debt capital. Okay, it has to increase the equity proportion of equity capital in the total capital. So use of equity capital increases the cost of capital. This is not a good situation because next year a project which may be a higher return, okay, say for example 12%, okay, had to be rejected because equity financing will entail a higher cost of capital. Say for example, the cost of capital where higher equity capital is used may become 13% or 14%. So even a project which is going to generate a return of 12% has to be rejected because of higher use of equity capital in the future period, not present. Okay. And the use of historical overall conclusion. So among the marginal weights, book value weights and market value weights. I repeat, overall conclusion among the marginal weights, book value weights and market value weights. The use of historical market value weights in calculating cost is likely to lead to the optimal selection of capital investment projects. Okay, the best or most logical, okay, weights are historical market value weights in calculating weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so that's the conclusion. So in next class, I'm going to solve some additional problems. I hope both the additional problems will get over. So within the next class. Okay, now if you have any doubts regarding this problem, so weighted average cost of capital using marginal weights. So you can ask. So I'm going to unmute you all at a time. So those who do not have any questions, remember to mute your audio. See, every time I'm repeating. Okay, but students are one or two students are not following the instruction. It means you are not listening. Okay, so please remember to mute your audio if you do not have questions. Others can speak.
Sir, that proportion I didn't understand. From where you have taken that amount, percentage?
We have not taken, okay, we have calculated it. See, total additional capital. Now the problem is, okay, only these costs we have taken from example 11.12. Okay, remaining all data is newly given. 5 lakh additional capital will be raised, 1 lakh will be from equity, from debt 3 lakh, and from preference capital 1 lakh. Okay, so now pay attention carefully. Carefully listen. Total additional capital to be raised is 5 lakh rupees, out of which 3 lakh will be raised from debt capital. So how we calculate proportion? 3 lakh divided by 5 lakh into 100. Can you make it? 3 lakh divided by 5 lakh into 100. How much is that? Okay, yeah, it is easy. Please erase it. So who was asking question?
Sir, Akshay Pujari.
Akshay Pujari. Did you calculate 3 lakh divided by 5 lakh into 100?
Sir, his mic is off, sir.
Whose mic? His mic. 1 minute.
Akshay's.
1 minute. Akshay Pujari.
Yes, sir.
Did you calculate?
Yes, sir. It's a 60%, sir.
That way. Then same way 1 lakh divided by 5 lakh into 100 will be 20%. So this is our job here, calculating proportions. Okay?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, good. So any other question? Okay. So for knowledge sake, 2 learnings you need to remember. Okay. So use of debt finance in a larger amount reduces weighted average cost of capital. Okay, but beyond a limit, if excessive debt finance is used, it increases the financial risk of the firm. Hence, an investor will not be interested in purchasing securities of a firm whose financial risk is very high. So there will be a decrease or drop in the market prices of the securities of that company. Hence, it cannot maximize shareholders' wealth. So that is where managers come into picture. Okay, finance managers, they need to know what is that optimal level of debt at which the weighted average cost of capital is lowest. Okay, that's the one thing. And while raising finance this year through a capital structure, let us say this is also a capital structure. So what will be its impact on future period when they want to raise capital again? That also has to be taken into account. Since this year already 60% of the capital raised is debt capital, next year the company has to